Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking to Nettie Nitzberg. Nettie, good. I want to say good morning, but it's now noon, so good afternoon. Good to have you. Happy New Year, Nettie. I'm looking forward to talking with you because your company is all about working with companies on culture transformation.
Yes.
Let me give you just a quick background, the listeners. You joined Saterman Connect as co-founder and Chief Learning Officer, CLO, bringing a creative approach and demonstrated experience in building team and organizational culture. One of the things that I just want to read right off your website is your cultural journey is just the beginning. Bring everyone with you. Change is overwhelming. We empower organizations to recognize ongoing cultural transformations happening in their business, move beyond the way we've always done it, and evolve on their own terms. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes.
But I want to. One of the things I want to start with is when you say we empower organizations to recognize. I want to just kind of highlight and talk about the word recognize, because to me, self-awareness is the first step of everything. And
Totally agree.
especially in companies where things have been done a certain way, especially in industries where things have been a certain way. How do you get people to recognize not just a change of what needs to occur in this moment, but to change for the times moving forward?
So, John, there's a couple of ways that we approach that. Typically, a company contacts us because there's a problem. A lot of times it is either high turnover, retention issues. Maybe it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. They want to bring that back into the organization, or just something is going on and they can pinpoint it. So part of our process is to actually do what we call discovery. And that is getting deep into the company, surveys, interviews, focus groups, to really find out where the problem is. Like, they know something is going on, but they may not be able to pinpoint it. And coming in as a neutral third party, people open up. They're willing to share. And what typically happens,
I see that as a business coach. And I just want to highlight on that for a minute, because when I go in and do as a business coach discovery or talk to people, they really do. They open up to things you cannot get in the internal corporate walls.
Absolutely.
So I just want to highlight that. But I just want to rewind a little bit too before you go deeper into this.
Sure.
Because I think you, one of the things that strikes me of that you said is people call you when they have a problem. But that's when it's, in my opinion, not that it's ever too late, but that's when the problem has become, you're right. It's like to get to the undercurrent of the problem and to fix it. What do companies need to be thinking? We'll finish your thought of what we were talking about, but what do clients need to be thinking to be proactive to call you, right? What does a proactive call mean versus reactive call?
So a couple of things, and thanks for, asking that. One would be that we're in growth mode. We have, numbers we have many companies doubling and tripling their numbers over the next year. So that's been kind of a trajectory that they're ready to.
Well, hold on. I'm in growth. So, but are they thinking I'm in growth mode and my business needs to grow and diversify? Right. So I'm in growth mode, and that means blank.
That could mean for us specifically that, because Josh on our team is also a coach, they may need some executive and leadership coaching. How do we handle this growth? We're going from a couple million to tens of millions of dollars, or from 200 people to 500 people. That's a totally different organization.
Yeah.
You also are thinking, oh, wait, okay, we need to be looking at promotion, individual contributors to people managers.
Yeah.
We don't have a training or development program for our first-time managers. We don't even have a training program for our middle managers. So that could be another area. And then the other one that we're really seeing is that we as a company are really ready to embed diversity and inclusion into our organization. We've been talking about it, but it's time that we do it. We're seeing everything that's going on. We have to take a stance. How do we do that? So those would be a couple of areas that we see where companies are being proactive and saying, we need help with this. In what ways can you help us?
How do they do that?
Most of our companies that find us are either through our website.
How do they begin to diversify?
Oh, right. How do they diversify? So part of it is, as a company, let's look at our leadership, what they look like.
Starts at the top.
Yes, totally starts at the top.
Starts at the top, right.
Yep. And many tops are the same with, middle to older white gentlemen, so getting women, people of color onto their leadership team. And many times what we're hearing is the board of directors is like, we have to diversify. Like, we cannot continue to be this way. One of the other areas is,
can you talk about, I don't mean to interrupt you, but can you talk about what the importance of diversifying, right? Having different perspectives around the table, right?
Yeah.
So not just kind of the same but similar. So can you just talk about the importance of that? Because I think people can never hear this enough right now. What the importance of that is and what that means for the longevity of the company, and not just the people in the culture. I mean, not just the profits, but the people in the culture and the sustainability.
Yeah. So I'm going to just make one comment that will lead to this. Many companies are finding that Gen Z and millennials are not interested in their organization because they do not have an organization focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Where I'm reading more and more about that those young adults, our future leaders, are not interested in companies that don't have a diverse leadership team. That means different ages, different backgrounds, different sexual orientation, coming from different parts of the world. So their culture is different, and bringing that into the organization. Another area is, where are they sourcing their talent from? Do we keep going to the same, colleges and universities, or, historical Black colleges and universities? Where else do you find that diverse talent? COVID's made it a little bit easier because now people can work remote. So you can go to different parts of the country, you can go overseas and really look at talent from culturally as well as geographically would be another thing. And then also looking at, your numbers internally, like man, female to male, number of people of minority, like where are the numbers, and where are they being hired within the organization? Do you typically have engineering as your most diverse department because of, the folks that are out there, and then your marketing department is not diverse at all? So there's different ways to internally really take a look at where are we having issues of diversity, but also what are we doing as a company to create inclusion and belonging? That's another area that we also help them to recognize. New hires are coming in, and how quickly are they leaving because it's a remote environment. They don't feel connected. Managers don't know how to manage a remote team. We have several companies right now that we're working with for onboarding. They're like, what do we do? Like, how do we connect people? How do we create an opportunity where new hires or potential new hires feel like they're part of our company from the very beginning? What are we saying? What are we doing? What's showing up on our website? What are the interview panels like when they're having those kind of conversations?
And something else that somebody just typed in, I think it's worth putting. The other beautiful aspect of being an outsider during discovery is that, I don't know if I like the word outsider, but that's how they put it. During discovery is that you're typically asking questions that they never considered. I think
Yes.
maybe they're talking about, excuse me, like an outsider, like a consulting firm like yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Or
And
a coach
so,
like
or
you.
like myself, like as a business coach, I go in, I'm an outsider coming in and parachuting
Yes.
in. So, but
Absolutely.
it's important. It's important to raise the bar.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, you're talking about feeling connected and, in the workspace that you're doing, and you've been talking a little bit, you've mentioned inclusion and equity and things of that nature. And we've been talking about awareness and recognizing how do you get people to raise the level of their connection while also understanding what their unconscious bias are to get more connected.
Yeah. That is a great question. And unconscious bias training just doesn't really do that. It's
Right.
basically, checking off something. It's really getting
Well,
in
there's
there.
a difference, I think, Nettie, between
Yeah.
training and living it in the culture, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of
Right.
like an everyday. You got to train it and raise people's awareness, but then you have to actually live it.
You have to
Also.
live, you have
Yeah.
to understand it. You need to create the awareness. You need to educate on it. We have a program called The Power of Language where we really help companies understand that everybody has different dimensions of diversity. So if you have, five white cisgender men sitting in a room, they're diverse when you look at what's underneath. Maybe somebody has parents living with them, somebody has had a heart attack, you have a child that has autism, you were born in a different country. So really getting to know people and connecting at that deeper level
Mm-hmm.
helps some of it. And then also really understanding too that, what people say and how they do it, those micro messages that are happening or microaggressions, also becoming aware that sometimes when you say things, it doesn't, the other person is not hearing it how you are intending it to be
Right.
said. And that's when you really need to understand that there's different types of micro messages that you have to kind of check yourself at the door
Yeah.
when you're saying something. And that also becomes really true during interviews is in what ways can you check your bias before you're going into an interview? We recommend that you take a look at somebody's profile online, you look at their resume, and you say to yourself, okay, they're this, and this, and I may have the bias around this, and I need to be very self-aware that I am coming in with that bias, and I have to get over that based on the type of questions I'm asking or the conversation that I'm having.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at your and showing everybody your the workshops that you do, and the power of language you talked earlier about, and I think when it comes to training, let's talk a little bit about that. The training that you do, the solutions that you have, a little bit about your team, the clients, the companies that you're working with. Talk to us a little bit about that. Like what's the first step, and how do you really work with someone and start and know what that first step is, the training, the workshops, what's the process, Nettie?
So a company comes and talks to, approaches us, or we approach a company and have a conversation, really asking a lot of questions about, where are the obstacles, where are the challenges, what are you doing correctly, what's working, what's not working. And typically they have an idea of, oh, we need coaching for executives and leaders, or we need a management development program, or we're not doing anything around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging,
Yeah.
or management and leadership development. So those initial intake conversations really help to guide us in terms of what their specific needs are.
Yeah.
Then our next step would be to talk about what we offer. We are a consulting firm, so pretty much everything we do is customized specifically for the client. But say they're having problems connecting new hires to managers and other new hires because everybody's remote, we may suggest Get Connected, which is a 1 hour super fun internal networking program.
Yeah.
We may say, okay, you're having some diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, something new you want to bring in. Let's understand where the organization is and what you need. What
Yeah.
have you done prior to that?
Yeah.
So it's really a deep dive assessment at the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
And then we will, depending on what's going on, we will come in and either do a discovery if it's, something that they're not quite sure about, or we may come in and suggest a workshop. We have managers that don't know how to manage in a remote environment.
Yeah.
How do you create belonging and inclusion in a
Sure.
hybrid place?
No, I love that. I love that. All right, good. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, because I think this is
Thank
a
you.
really important topic, and I always love to talk about topics that are, so important for companies, and I think more and more companies need to connect more and more on this topic.
Yeah.
Quick speed round for you, Nettie. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Wow. It was to really pay attention to what's going on, and that requires a lot of really, really strong listening,
Yeah, good.
active listening.
Active listening is so important.
Yeah.
Favorite book and why?
My favorite book, Life of a Geisha.
Oh, okay.
One that I don't know, I guess you're probably looking for professional
No,
development.
no. Anything. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah.
I found that book fascinating. The fact that it was written by a man and not a woman, given the premise of the books.
Yeah. Finish this sentence. One thing every leader can do to raise their awareness is?
Understand their emotional intelligence and really be much more self-aware of who
Yeah.
they are and what's going on.
I love it. Tell everybody, Nettie, how they can connect with you and all your contact info.
Okay, fantastic. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Nettie Nitzberg. I'm on LinkedIn. Our company is Saterman Connect, Saterman Connect.com. You can check out our website. Our new book is Arrive, Drive, Thrive is on Amazon. You can buy it today. And feel free to email me at nettie@satermanconnect.com.
I love it. Nettie, I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for, raising awareness today on topics that are so important. I think we all need to look at our unconscious bias, and we all need to look at diversity in ways that will help all of us grow in so many ways. So I appreciate your wisdom and your insight, and thanks for doing what you do. Think community. If Nettie can help you, please reach out. Nettie, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, John. Pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you.